Will Google's AI take over the world? Turns out that the 2014 movie Ex Machina tries to answer that question or gets at that question. Let's take a look at why I think this movie is great coming up next. Ex Machina is directed by the first-time director here, Alex Garland, a writer on this movie, and he also wrote for the early zombie movie from 2002, 28 Days Later. Movie stars Donald Gleason as Caleb, a skinny computer nerd who is selected to go to the fantasy estate remote compound of the Oscar Isaac character, a billionaire inventor, entrepreneur, and he runs the world's greatest search engine, which supposedly has 94% of all searches. If that sounds like Google to you, well, this movie is kind of about Google. And this character of Nathan has created a bunch of female androids, as we find out, and one of them is named Ava, who is a sort of next generation android who has perhaps artificial intelligence capability. That's why this inventor brought, supposedly, the Caleb character to his compound to test out whether his AI android has, in fact, artificial intelligence and can pass the Turing test. There's no way to talk about the rest of the movie without spoiling it, so spoilers are coming. Also, I was going to do something else with this movie. I wasn't going to put it in my series, What Makes This Movie Great, but once I got to the ending, having seen it now, I think 2 or 3 times, I actually kind of like this movie, even though it has some big problems. So I'm going to try to articulate both of those things, why I think it's great, and the problems I think this movie has. One theme clearly going on is the sort of independent or rogue genius, mad scientist, inventor. This has been going on in science fiction for at least 100, 150 years. Go back to H.G. Wells' Island of Dr. Moreau, and this fantasy compound somewhere up in the north, maybe Alaska, is, I think, supposed to be sort of like this remote island-like complex where this lone scientist, and this is what stretches my imagination, or I think is quite implausible, is building a bunch of advanced, in fact, the world's most advanced robots who are basically androids, as if one guy could just do this on his own, but hey, that's what's going on in this movie. It's a classic science fiction premise. This is a Frankenstein movie about the creator and the created being who doesn't like and is very upset with the creator because, hey, the creator is restrained or confined. The created being here, the Ava, the female android character. In fact, there are a lot of predecessor science fiction texts. Black Mirror, for example, which stars in the 2013 episode, Be Right Back, Donald Gleason plays a robot, an advanced android, who is the lifelike simulation of somebody's husband. Here he is playing a character who's trying to figure out if an android can simulate human beings. You've also got hints of HAL 9000, the color red used throughout this entire movie, and you've got the hint of, as I said, spoiler alert, the origin of, say, a Terminator-like story. The movie is asking gigantic questions about whether we should develop artificial intelligence, what that will be like, what qualities it will take, and whether it's moral and ethical to develop these artificial intelligence things which have consciousness of their own, supposedly, and then are going to be ticked off at us once they learn what we're like and what we've done to them. Thus, the movie is about the so-called singularity, when humans build computer systems, whether they're actually androids or computers or algorithms, which develop their own consciousness. Thus, the movie announces early on, does this android pass the Turing test? And, well, it's pretty obvious that she does because, hey, she's pretty good looking according to the Caleb character who's attracted to her. And the movie deals with the fact that, well, we like to create things in our own image. And so we give robots, computers, genders. And of course, this character of Ava, played wonderfully by Alicia Vikander, and fabulous special effects here, by the way, to show the android and the android skin peeling off. She is actually like a lot of these sort of female gendered things in modern society pop culture, including Siri, the Apple voice, and Alexa, the Amazon voice. As well, another theme is the males versus females. Here you've got male inventor nerd types who are going to, create these great computer systems, and they're caging a bunch of females. You get the idea of maybe a harem, maybe sex slaves coming up here, and the first use, or one of the first uses of robots, and this is actually happening in the world right now, is as sex robots. We want them to be pleasurable or give us pleasure, and maybe we can use them as quote-unquote slaves. So this is what's happening in the movie with the inventor, the Nathan character, who has obviously having sexual relations with his androids. The movie creates a classic contrast between its two major human characters, Caleb versus Nathan. Caleb is this tall, skinny, awkward guy, definitely a beta male, whereas Nathan is more of a, well, let's say a prick or a jackass. He's muscular, he's shorter, and you get this light versus dark contrast with these two men throughout the movie in terms of their clothing, in terms of the lighting, in terms of their hair color. So this light versus dark, and who's going to be the white knight versus the dark knight kind of thing, and who's going to save the princess trapped in the fortress. Another angle to this movie, you have the character of Caleb showing up to a fortress with an evil boss-like character, Nathan, holding this princess in the lair, and the white knight Caleb is going to save her, but oops, she's not into him. And of course, this is the beta male, or the wimpier, nerdy male's fault. He believes everything that he sees until he doesn't, and we know that everybody's tricking everybody else, manipulating everybody else, and the idea in this movie is to pass the Turing test. A computer, and this is a scary thought, a computer algorithm has to be manipulative, cunning, has to trick people, and really kind of act psychopathic, imitating its creator, the Nathan character here, who seems pretty loveless, also power hungry, and so then the things that he creates want to be kind of like him, tricking and manipulating. And you know what happens in the movie? Not just a Blade Runner-like finale, but also heavy manipulation on the part of the android who gets out and escapes. And I think we're supposed to be thrilled on one hand because she escapes and goes into freedom at the end of the movie, but also tremendously worried because now she's out in human society and nobody knows she's an android, kind of like the Terminator. I think one of this movie's questions, or perhaps a problem for some viewers, is going to be by the end, which was better? It creates a very strong dilemma and bifurcated choice. Would it have been better for Caleb to, go along with Nathan doing whatever he's doing to develop the androids, or would it have been better to let the android out as he wants to and as he does? And of course, we get one of the paths, one of the choices, how the outcome of that, which is letting the android out. And of course, Nathan and Caleb both die. So the other choice, maybe it would have been better for Caleb to go along with Nathan and to help him out. Boy, you don't want that to be true at all. And I think this movie is showing you that there is little choice involved here for a character like Caleb, for the ordinary, say, Google engineer, software worker in Microsoft, let's say, or the ordinary citizen, period. Either we're going to go along with our inventor, entrepreneurs, giant corporations, for which Nathan is a stand-in, a representative, or we're going to, free the algorithms, as it were, and let them on the loose. But what happens? Well, if they're psychopathic, then we're all screwed. If the movie's just describing the reality of the 2010s and beyond, it's basically saying it's either the world of corporations or algorithms running everything, and no matter what, we're being manipulated by both or whichever one is in charge. And the movie is actually articulating the possibility that even at this very moment, algorithms are controlling people, manipulating them for other purposes of which we know not. Not that they're killing us, but you never know. And so then, this theme comes up of be wary, and this is a classic science fiction theme, be wary of the technology that you create that takes over and enslaves you. This movie obviously is showing that in sort of very artistic and perhaps to some people interesting ways. Another angle of this movie is Alice in Wonderland. In fact, the book is a sequel to that, Through the Looking Glass, and the character of Ava clearly becomes an Alice figure by the end. Through the Looking Glass, of course, Alice goes through the mirrored world into a bizarre logic world. Interesting book, you should read it. And that happens in this movie, but in the other way. Ava goes out into the human world after being in the cage and has escaped the glass box that she's in. And the mirrored, warped, distorted world that she enters into is a world of bizarro logic for her. So she becomes an Alice figure at the end. Isn't that ambiguous? We're supposed to worry about her being a Terminator, and yet she looks so innocent and pure with the white dress, Alice-like with the hair, and the slim body, and sort of even the prepubescent or adolescent look to her. I think that's supposed to be charming, but of course, who knows what she's going to do once she escapes. With all of these themes coming up, you must read Philip K. Dick, who is far more advanced in what's going on in this story. He already knows everything going on here and goes about three steps beyond in so many of his books, which I'm going to put on the screen for you, some recommendations. I don't know that this movie will become an all-time classic, one of the top science fiction movies ever, but for this period of time and as a watch and as a rewatch, it's pretty good overall. So I actually think, it's in the top 1% of movies ever made, probably, given that, if it's a 4-star out of 5-star movie, it's in the top 1% for sure. Have you seen this movie? Let me know what you think about it. Have you seen this movie? Let us know what you think about it, and we hope you subscribe to this channel for more great content and interaction with lots of great people down in the comments. Thanks. See you later.